to listen to the Lapped Traffic Podcast.
What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome to episode 235 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. I am your host, the Professor Brandon Crowd. Let's get right into it. I am joined with my co-host for tonight for the third installment of the Lap Traffic J-Ski bonus shows. It's Dustin Albino. What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm doing well, Brandon. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, man. Good. Excited to talk. We're going to have some fun tonight. NASCAR, Wrestlemania, all that good stuff.
I can talk about NASCAR for hours, and I can talk about wrestling for hours, so I'm ready to go.
Yes. Before we get into all that, how are your beloved Yankees doing?
They're always stacked. It seems like every year. I'm going to a game this weekend, actually.
Awesome.
They play Tampa, so they're 5-7 right now as we record this. So it's just, it's typical April for them, but I'm sure they'll get it squared around, start hitting some long balls, and they'll be fine.
You will appreciate this stat that just flashed up on the TV screen before I walked into the podcast room here. The Tigers are 4-6. But are first in the division for home runs. They've got 19 home runs and are sitting 4-6.
It's almost 2 a game.
Right? That's crazy. So, what's going to be fun is as we do this throughout the summer, tracking, like right now, like our records are the same, we're obviously fresh in, but as I imagine the bar is, yes. Oh, guys, we'll break fourth wall. Dustin and I are on Zoom, and we both just kind of spaced our hands out at the same time. That's exactly what's going to happen.
The Yankees will win 90-something games, and Tigers will have 90-something losses.
You got it. You better believe it. Well, man, what you been up to last couple weeks, man? What kind of new pieces? What you working on?
Yeah, as far as J-Ski, I have a couple new pieces out. This week we did a piece on Jesse Little and kind of, where he's at in his career with BJ McLeod Motorsports, why he went to BJ, from another smaller team in JD Motorsports last year being a rookie. And also where his head's at in terms of the landscape of his career and why taking, the amount of funding he has to run a full year rather than what we've seen in the past with some drivers like Ryan Preece. Go to Gibbs for a few races, bet on yourself, win, and then you're in Cup. So I think that was a fun story to tell. A lot of fun stuff I'm working on. I did a piece last week with Joe Graff and Antonio Williams. That was on NASCAR.com. We kind of teased it a couple weeks ago, I think on our first installment.
Yeah.
But I had a good reaction from the Bills fans, which is cool because I'm a Bills fan too. Bills Mafia, baby. But yeah, it's a lot of fun stuff coming up and a lot of things in the works in the coming weeks.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool. You talk about, a team like BJ, I know he's done a lot of work like with Tommy Joe Martins. And I think maybe for the novice fan or the real casual fan, they really don't understand the value that guys like that provide for the sport and drivers in the sport. Like these guys, to the random casual viewer, I could see them looking at, BJ Motorsports and just kind of going like, why is this guy fielding 3 cars? But it's what they're able to provide for the developmental drivers that's just so key for the sport, I think.
Totally agree. And also BJ is a very, he's a young owner and he's got the Cup team this year with Team Live Fast, also partnering with Matt Tift, very young.
I'm going to get Matt back on the show. Matt, I haven't had Matt on in a minute, and he likes to give me a lot of crap for being a Michigan fan, and he's well past due coming on the show.
Well, you can talk to him about the team and how it started off this year. But yeah, like you said, it's very good to have, team owners like BJ McLeod or even like Johnny Davis who, they've really overachieved or do overachieve for the budget that they run on. So same with BJ. This year his teams, they're quick. If you look at the speed chart, look at the results of 2 different things.
Sure.
As BJ was telling me for the story on Jesse, Jesse has laps where he's top 15 speed, repeatedly for an entire run, but then they have like a brake failure or something, something bizarre happens. So yeah, all teams have a purpose, and it's good to see, BJ give young drivers an opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, Lap Traffic Nation, if you haven't checked out Tuesday's show with Brett Moffitt, Freddie the Pizza Man, and NASCAR Sammy, who talked a little bit about autism awareness, go check out episode 234 and a teaser coming up on next week's show. I'm really excited, Lap Traffic Nation. Adding to the list of MRN guests, the Bagman will be making his Lap Traffic debut next week. Very excited to talk to the Bagman for sure.
He's so good.
Yes, I gotta tell you, Jeff Striegel is such a good friend over the last couple years. He's been on probably close to 20 times, and every once in a while I'll text him and be like, "Hey, can you get me so-and-so?" And he'll be like, "Yeah, let me reach out to him." And a couple of days later, I'll get their phone number. And I'm like, I'm really excited to talk to the Bagman. So.
That'll be a good one.
Yes.
Very entertaining.
Yes. But coming up tonight with Dustin, we're going to recap, talk a little Martinsville, got some listener feedback, and we are going to give you our professional breakdown from Wrestlemania this past weekend. We are very excited to talk some WrestleMania. So
absolutely.
Fair warning, that might go a little long. So just gonna preface that right now. So we'll get things rolling, man. Let's start with Martinsville. The 72 hours of Martinsville, is I called it on the show on Tuesday. Man, I want to just get your thoughts. Like, let's go back to Friday night. We got what? How many laps did we have to go before the end of stage 2 and this thing was going to be official?
34,
right? So, and this is Martinsville.
10 minutes.
I was going to say 10 minutes. And I had asked Moffitt this when I talked to him on Tuesday's show. I'd like, all right, break this down for me in terms of when you're in the moment on Friday night, do you just wish, like, man, I wish we could just go home? And after you run on Sunday, are you thankful that, you guys were able to finish and get the complete race in? And he said, based on where we're at with this team and trying to get a feel of things, sure, yeah. Was it frustrating? Absolutely. But they were glad to get that time in and to be able to learn for when they go back to Martinsville in the fall. So as a writer and someone that's been in media, and I know you and I have been at a couple tracks where there's been some rain and carryover, but when you're doing this as a job, more so than what I do this as, man, that's got to be grueling sitting in that media center for God knows how long.
Well, yeah, and even for the Daytona, and following Daytona 500 this year, that was my first time, doing one of these with you, and I was at Daytona until after 4 a.m, and there was still people there, right?
That's
like
crazy.
So. Yeah, it was. I mean, the race ended at 12:30, roughly. I'm thinking back 2 months now, to the day. And the winner's press conference didn't get done until after 2:30. Like, it was a long, grueling day. So when it comes to Friday night with Martinsville, I mean, yes, 10, 12 more minutes, the race would have been complete. It would have been a full, half the race would have been over. Stage 2's done.
Yep.
Boom, we're going home.
Yep.
And I felt bad for the teams because, I mean, they didn't call it until after 12:30.
Yeah.
And I get why they did, though, because, they were planning on having a cup race Saturday, which they ended up, did get it started.
Yep.
And they had to switch all of the equipment out from the truck, the Xfinity haulers to the cup haulers, and then get them all out and bring all the cup ones in. So I understand why they had to postpone it to Sunday, but it really sucks for the crew because, I mean, by the time you load everything up, it's probably, I don't know, 2:30. I know some people that didn't get home to Charlotte, which is two and a half hours south of Martinsville. It's almost 5, a little after 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, that's a long freaking day.
That is brutal. Yeah.
But
That's intense.
But if you look at, the show we got on Sunday, I think it was well worth the wait.
Well, so that's the nice lead there, sir. Like, that's the thing. Like, I am so glad that they were able to race the Xfinity race in full because me personally, I thought the Xfinity race was incredible. And not that the Cup race wasn't, but I just thought the Xfinity race had a lot more bang for my buck as far as time invested watching than the Cup race did.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how you like your racing. And both these races, had a lot of cautions and a lot of both of them had fights, between teammates and one of them. And I don't know. I mean, the cup race was kind of sloppy in the middle. It was really at the beginning, there was a lot of green flag runs.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, this is the Martinsville from 2 years ago where there was no cautions at all, really.
Yep.
But then it turns out with 15 and same with the Xfinity race where, there's 12 cautions for 75 laps. And it, like you said, it was a good race. You had Daniel Hemrick, who won stage 2, get some damage there in the middle of the final run and still come back for a third place finish. So I love Martinsville. It's a track where, you kind of throw aerodynamics out the window, which is lovely these days.
Absolutely.
And we got a good story with Josh Berry winning.
Oh, man. When you talk about that story there, you look at 13 starts, picks up his first win, and to do it at Martinsville. We're not talking about a place to where, they hit on setup. They raced and survived. They survived and got that win. And that to me, that win probably, I mean, granted, a win is a win, but to me, that first win at Martinsville would mean more and hold more water than the first win at Kansas, or something like that. It means like I raced and beat these guys out there. Like Josh Berry beat and held off Noah Gragson, who was charging like a madman. Daniel Hemrick, and I want to talk about Ty Gibbs for a minute here too in a second, but I mean, all of the Xfinity powerhouse teams, Josh Berry kept him in the rear view, which is really freaking awesome.
Yeah, and like you said, good story with Josh Berry. He's a guy that's grinded his whole adult life to try and make it in auto racing, and for them to finally, them being Junior Motorsports, finally be able to give him a reasonable opportunity this year where he's more than 1 or 2 races and he's got 12 of the first 15 races in the 8 car. He's only going to learn and learn, at a rapid rate because there's no practice really at any of these tracks. So, the beginning of the year, he was kind of hit or miss, but again, there's no practice and he's seeing all these tracks for the most part for the first time. So you can only expect so much. And back, 2 months ago, I got to talk to Josh and Dale Jr. for a story on J-Ski about this opportunity. And Dal said, there's no expectations this year. He'll be happy with whatever he can do. At the same time, Josh told me that, what ran through his head is what if I win? What if I win? Right. What does that do for my career? So he's won now. Yeah. And like you said,
he gets to find out.
Yeah, he does get to find out. And for his sake, he is a guy that's grinded at the local level for so long. You hope there's an opportunity at some point out there for a guy like him, and deservedly so. So, yes, it was a very, very cool and very special one for him.
Absolutely. I want to talk about Ty Gibbs for a minute because he took a massive amount of heat after his win at the road course on social media, family money, all of the stuff that you just, would see from people on social media. But this dude is up there competing every time he straps into the car. And listen, you can say whatever you want to say about how he got the ride, but it's a matter of what do you do when you're in the ride, I think that really needs to be looked at. And the dude's competing. And I mean, I understand if you're going to come out and say that initially, but guy's able to go out there and compete. And I like what I'm seeing out of that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's very, very young. He's got a lot of growing to do, both, as a race car driver and, personally too, is a professional representing Joe Gibbs Racing. And he would tell you the same thing. I know he hasn't some of the interviews he's done post race before, but forget that, put that to the side.
Yeah.
3 races this year, 1 win, obviously in his debut, 3 top 5s, 3 top 10s, obviously in those 3 races. Average finish at 2.3. So
I mean, come on.
in 3 races, there's been 7 of the 3. He's 15th in points.
Right. Yes. Right. Hey,
he hasn't even competed in half the races. So yes, very impressed by Ty Gibbs.
Absolutely. All right, man. Let's talk about Greg Galding, Joe Graff for a minute. What did you see that happen with those guys out there?
So, I mean, obviously TV doesn't always pick up the battles. And I think personally, the mid-pack of the Xfinity field has some of the best racing out there in NASCAR. Just my personal opinion.
Sure. Yeah, no,
I think a lot of the drivers would tell you the same thing, though. So, I mean, you saw them kind of bumping into each other, and I saw an interview with Gray on with Sirius, and he mentioned how, Joe Graff kept chopping him off. He's a chicane. He's in the way, but he wrecked him on purpose, and he wasn't going to take that back, and didn't take it back, and said if he could have done it again, he'd do it again.
Yeah.
So you got a guy in Greg Galding who raced for Bobby Dotter just 2 years ago, finished 13th in points, had a really good year, wrecking their equipment, both underfunded teams.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it was being a little aggressive. It's Martinsville. I get if you think a driver's in the way or whatever, but I don't know. What comes around goes around. Should probably be a little more respectful.
Yeah, no, listen, and I'm all about, throwing the gloves off and all that. Sure. And that's the thing. You both of those guys know the financial spot that both of those teams are in. And like you said, a little bit more respectful, like, hey, you want to go frickin' throw some haymakers, Noah Gregson style afterwards, go have at it, because that just means that's more viewers next week. That's more eyes on the sport. The mantra, hey, don't take it out on the track, take it out, on pit road, and.
Yeah. And this one, I mean, we didn't see the full, how this fight started. The cameras caught it up mid-fight.
Yes.
So, I saw some team members send out tweets saying how, the video was after punches were thrown. So
yeah,
who knows how bad it really was, or how physical it did get. I guess that's only for the universe to know.
Right.
We'll never find out. But that was something. And I mean, that leads right into the cup race too. I guess actually the night before with teammates at Rick Ware Racing.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Fill us in.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was right before the caution came out that, ended up halting the race for 15 hours or whatever it was. I guess more than that, really 17 or 18. But Cody Ware just dumped James Davison.
Yeah.
Straight up dumped him out of turn, into turn 3, going out into turn 3, turn 4, whatever. And I reached out to Rick Ware, obviously team owner of Rick Ware Racing, and he mentioned how, he wasn't very happy with the whole scenario. And then on Corey LaJoy's podcast this week, Stacking Pennies, he mentioned how there was a fight between the two of them. I don't know. Neither one of them confirmed that. So right. I don't know if that's accurate. But, I mean, that's not a good look when you wreck your teammate. And when one of the drivers is the team owner's son, right, and wrecks his father's car.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
That is obviously, it's emotions, it's short track racing, right?
Short track racing.
And is that a matter of, emotions just got the best? Is there some real beef? That is not one meeting I wanted to walk into on Monday.
I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall.
Absolutely. Oh, man. All right. Well, let's talk a little Martin Truex Jr. here. I mean, the guy goes on what was it, an 80 short track winless streak, and then has just gone
5 for 11
on a rampage since. Our first 2-time winner this year. I'm not going to be surprised if he's our first 3-time and picks up the win this weekend at Richmond. But just... This team is really showing poise this year. I think, when I look back last year, 2020, once we came back racing after our extra break there, I just felt like Martin Truex, I know he got 1 win, maybe 2, but I don't really one. Yeah, I don't feel like they hit on all cylinders, and I just feel like they are bringing it each week and could have a few more, and probably will get a few more.
So obviously last year is James Small's first year as Truex's crew chief, replacing Cole Pern, who I guess retired or went out, to Canada to live greater pastures or whatever. But you mentioned, how he had 1 win coming in Martinsville last year, and they were just kind of so-so all year. But I say that they had a streak of 8 straight top 5 finishes during the summer between Kansas and the final race of the regular season at Daytona. So, but none of those were wins. They were all 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place finishes. So he didn't have the playoff points. Ultimately, that cost him in the playoffs, where he had to go into Martinsville in the penultimate race of the year, the cutoff race to the round of 8, and win. And he was running 2nd, led 129 laps, but had a flat tire late, finished 22nd, a lap down. So when it comes to short tracks, I don't know what's gone into him.
Right.
But at Richmond specifically, like I know he's won Martinsville. He led 464 laps there a couple years ago. But I was looking at his stats at Richmond yesterday. 970 laps led in the last 8 races there.
Wow. That's crazy. That
So
is nuts.
Out of 3,200 laps, I'm sure, give or take a few more because of overtime.
Yep.
But he's led, my God, over 25%.
Yeah.
It's so much. So, yes, he could very well be the first 3-time winner this weekend.
Absolutely. I want to talk about Kyle Larson for a minute, too. This is someone, we didn't really know, at least I'm going to say I didn't know what to expect. Was there going to be a learning curve, if you will, in terms of getting, reacclimated to a Cup car, being out of it for basically an entire year and going back with a new team? Like, this is it's crazy. Just the fact that they are hitting on all cylinders right out of the gate, a win, top 5s, top 10s. Kyle Larson is like beyond impressive with what he's been able to do 7 races in.
Yeah, very kind of methodical. Obviously, he had the dominating run at Las Vegas and then really dominated Atlanta, only to finish second to Ryan Blaney. But then even this weekend in Martinsville, where, he'll tell you it's one of his worst tracks on the circuit.
Yeah.
And he's 5th, 6th the whole race and ends up with a top 5 finish. So I just think he's growing, at a rapid rate. And look, Hendrick has the best team right now, I would say. I mean, William Byron, 6 straight top 10s, the longest streak of his career. Larson's got a ton of speed. Alex Bowman has speed, just can't finish, can't put a full race together.
Yep.
And Chase Elliott's the defending champion, who I think is going to break out in a few wins here very quickly.
Absolutely.
So, yes, Kyle Larson has been very, very impressive this year with Hendrick.
Absolutely. All right. A couple random things that went up on jski.com this week that I thought would just be cool to hit on for a minute. Dale Jr. Makes an announcement that a potential Cup team and expansion from JRM is not out of the possibility. And, of course, everybody blew up with that. So,
of course.
Of course, right? And that's cool. This is a guy, that just wants nothing more than to give back to the sport. So how, we could what if things to death, but how cool would that be?
So it would be cool, but the odds of it happening, personally, I don't think are very good, and I think Junior doesn't think they're very good. And he kind of mentioned this. It's kind of one of those things where I feel like he probably, in retrospect, hindsight, probably wish he hadn't have said in the public eye that he had talks with Kelly, his sister, about it. About if there's any time to start a Cup team or move up to Cup, I should say, it's now because of a new car.
Sure.
Significant amount of funding, way more than they have right now, to even run just one car. So do I see it happening personally? No. Would it be very cool and awesome to see and, see Dow, because he's given back to the sport in so many ways. Look at some of the drivers that have gone through Junior Motorsports.
Absolutely.
Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr., back before Junior Motorsports, really. Chase Elliott, William Byron, there's so many of them.
Yep.
Stars now. So, yes, it would be very cool to see him take that to Cup, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. And then lastly, news came out that starting at Darlington, they're going to start very, very, very limited, letting some people into the infield, single numbers or single digits per team to get into the garage area and all that kind of stuff to start opening back up and just to test the waters a little bit, which, hey, as limited as that may be, it's a great step in the right direction.
Absolutely. You hit it right on the head there. It's kind of like baby steps, right? And we say that, but it's kind of a big step because for over a year now, in terms of, 36 races, it might not be a full year in the calendar yet, but over 37, 38 races now since they picked up the season back last year at Darlington.
Yep.
There's been nobody in the infield. So for them to just say this weekend we're putting a whole bunch of people in there, and I say a whole bunch, not thinking about the past where literally there's a whole bunch of people. But if there's 8, 9 people per team or whatever the number is, even 3, 4, whatever, it's going to add up, and it's baby steps. So eventually, hopefully, everything gets back to normal.
Right. Hopefully sooner rather than later, drivers can fend off fans looking for autographs.
Gotta love that. Especially when like you're going to a hauler or whatever to go get an interview and you just drivers are getting swarmed. Lovely times.
Yes. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, YouTube, The Lap Traffic Podcast, and of course, Instagram and Twitter at Lap Traffic PC. Don't forget about the giveaway, creeping up, less than 140 away from giving away the Clint Boyer diecast and some Lap Traffic swag. Of course, got free stickers and koozies for you if you fill out the contact page on the website. I'll send them out for free. And make sure you're following Dustin on Twitter at Dustin Albino and Jayski at jayski.com, NASCAR.com, all that good stuff there, sir. Did I hit it? Or is there anything else you want to plug?
You got it all. Just go look at our articles, all the original content, and also, we're a one-stop shop. I say that repeatedly, I feel like, but
that's all right.
You got everything Cup, everything Xfinity, everything trucks. You want it, it's there.
Excellent. All right, sir, let's press on. It is time for some WrestleMania talk, man. Let's start out with this. Just overall, what was your perspective, what you thought we were going to get before Saturday night kicked off versus what we ended up getting after Sunday?
Yeah, we could literally talk hours about this.
Yes.
But so... And you and I think we hit on this a couple weeks ago, but the build for this year's WrestleMania was just subpar. Like, it wasn't good. There was a couple of stories like the main event between Edge, Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns that were really good long-term storytelling, which I don't know about you. I would imagine I love that stuff.
Yes. No, build it. Give me, I want to feel invested in a reason why I want to see it come to an end at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. I would prefer them to not do the the last pay-per-view in March. Like, I don't need that pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. Like, I would rather a 6-week build from February to WrestleMania.
I agree with that. And I'll take it one step further. I would like for their only, you have the Royal Rumble there in the end of January or whatever, and then they have 2 pay-per-views right now.
Yeah.
Between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Yep. Just get rid of both of them.
Yeah. Oh, I'm down with that all day.
Yeah, because then you have a 10-week or so storyline, or 10-week or so build towards WrestleMania, your biggest event of the year. And this year they had a event 4 weeks out from the Rumble, and then 3 weeks after that. So 3 weeks before WrestleMania, you're having a pay-per-view. Yep.
This would have been the best year to do that because, years past, right? I get it. It's all about the money. So if you can fill a stadium with 15,000 and get pay-per-view buys, I get that. But you've gotten rid of your network, so you're not worried about subscription buys. You don't need to sell the pay-per-view seats. So this would have been the perfect year to get rid of those in between pay-per-views and really build that up.
Absolutely. Totally. So I couldn't have worded that any better. And we just got a lot of short-term storylines that started at that final pay-per-view. Yeah. So you have a 3-week or less build, really. Yep. And that's just like for Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks, all-time match. I think it's probably my second favorite women's match I've ever seen, only behind Sasha Bailey, NXT Brooklyn, takeover 5-6 years ago now. I loved that match, but the storyline behind it, really, there was none. Yeah, no, I'm with you. And there should have been. I mean, this is an all-time talent in Sasha Banks. Someone that's been a grinder for the past 6-7 years on the main roster. And then you got the rookie Bianca Belair, who in her first WrestleMania main events night 1. Yeah. Very good match, though.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. Some of the matches for me, like I had no idea what I was going to get with them, and like the Raw Tag Team Championship match. I mean, I really felt bad for the New Day having to go in there. AJ, you look at what he did last year's WrestleMania, that graveyard match with The Undertaker, one of the coolest cinematic wrestling things I've ever seen. And to come out, it just it just felt like a rushed match to get the championship on the line, and I get what they were trying to do, building up this behemoth, 9 feet tall,
giant,
whatever the hell he is, but he's got he doesn't have any range, all that kind of stuff. That to me just came up so short, but.
So you didn't like that match?
I did not like that match. No, that was not on. That did not make my top matches. That's for sure.
So I've seen mixed reviews on that match, because I'll be honest, I actually liked it.
Did you?
I like the story. I like the story they were telling throughout of the New Day. They were verbally abusing AJ, saying how you're not a tag team wrestler,
right?
And they would kind of cut the mat off, being the ring generals that they are in the tag division.
Yep.
But then you saw almost get the hot tag,
right?
And you saw you saw Xavier Woods' face, and his jaw dropped when he was tagged in. So I thought that was it did what it did for me. Was it a good match? Probably not, but I like the story they told.
Sure. No, I'm with you there. Let's talk about Shane McMahon, Braun Strowman. Before we started recording, we talked about, of the matches that did get a build, this one got a lot of attention.
Too much.
It was everything I expected. I like the fact of they added a couple unique spots with, Braun pulling the cage apart up there and all that. We got the big flip off the top of the cage. I mean, we got the couple bumps that we knew Shane was going to take. We knew the outcome. It just is what it was for me out there.
Yeah, you knew Shane was going to take a big bump. You just didn't know which side of the cage he was going to fall out of.
Right, yes.
So happy he fell in the ring. The storyline, I think we hit on this a couple weeks ago too, is it could be a good storyline, a bully storyline.
Yeah. Of
Shane McMahon bullying Braun Strowman, but the way they just said stupid repeatedly over and over and over, it's really?
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
But the match, it was what it was. And I guess it's pushing Braun Strowman as a baby face, but he's had more turns than Big Show at this point.
That is the best ever. Oh, that's great. Oh, all right. Cesaro, Seth Rollins, man, this match was 5-star. Cesaro, Seth Rollins, I would have expected nothing less. What was 23 spins on the chart there? I think he racked up. That match just delivered.
Yeah, like you said, 5-star match. I was super pumped for these two because in real life they're really good friends and they've worked throughout the independents with one another. And really cool to see Cesaro finally get a moment. And you hope it leads to bigger and better things for him because he has the talent.
Yes,
that dude's so good.
Yep,
so good.
I feel
probably,
go ahead.
He's probably one of the best pure wrestlers, and probably strongest for pound to pound that there is in the world. So just the technical aspect, I'm super happy that he finally got featured in a one-on-one match at Mania. And you hope once fans come back, and I think this will be the case, he's going to kind of be that next star.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like I could piggyback off your Big Show babyface heel turns, and I could use that with Cesaro and say, how many different tag team partners has this guy had?
Yeah, Sheamus, Tyson Kidd, Jack Swagger. There's
the list just goes on. All right, the championship match, which kicked things off actually for night one here. Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre. I think we kind of knew how that was going to go. It was a solid match, and I like the fact that, and we can get to this later, but I'll just kind of use this as a tying together. We've got 2 heel champions and they're building those heels, which I actually kind of like because it's you think WrestleMania, most of the time you're thinking babyface championship wins, and I actually like the fact that both heels retained. That's not something that's common.
Agreed. And then even, past the main 2 champions with the Universal and World Heavyweight, you look at the tag champions and you got AJ and Omos, then Ziggler and Bobby Roode. You have with the Intercontinental Championship, Apollo Crews, which we haven't talked about yet. Sheamus with the U.S. title. These guys are all heels.
Right.
Bianca Belair's obviously a face. Rhea Ripley's a heel. There's so many bad guys, I'm putting in air quotes,
yep,
that are that are champions right now. Like usually at Mania, it's a culmination of the faces going over, and that wasn't the case this year at all.
No, I'm with you. Night 2. Let's start with this one, and if we got to cut from something else, that's fine with me because this one just really pissed me off. We open with The Fiend versus Randy Orton, and the open when they wheeled out that giant ass Jack in the Box and Alexa Bliss. I am cool. Into this. I'm like, oh yes, this is beautiful. And then the match goes and then all of a sudden Alexa Bliss pops out and the Ultimate Warrior, Papa Shango, Black Blood starts spewing, and then boom, RKO, one RKO, and that's it. I really I was left like, WTF did I just watch? Like, why did they do this to me? And I was left bummed, that's for sure.
To me, it was pretty clear what they were trying to do, and it was to get you to tune into Raw, but it's WrestleMania.
Yes.
It's like you don't do that on WrestleMania.
Well, and
you should do that.
I get the Raw thing, I do, but then they just didn't do anything better for me on Raw. Like,
Raw was not good.
You've got the Alexa Bliss Playground, and you got Bray's Funhouse, and Bray teased she's gone now for whatever that means, but I'm like, oh, come on.
It almost seems like Alexa Bliss is a new, almost Fiend character.
Right. Yes.
Of the women's division now, and they're just going separate ways.
Well, I did read on one of the dirt sheets or whatever that she has been adamant about wanting to wrestle as this character. So
got it. That makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, I think they could have paired that. Like, could you imagine both of them holding the championship? Like, that would be pretty cool.
Would be cool. And look, as bad as the match really wasn't that good, and the storyline was good. I thought, overall, a lot of build.
Yeah.
Good storyline. And I take like my girlfriend, for instance, she before we met, like she wasn't a huge wrestling fan, right? But she loves this Alexa Bliss character.
Oh, that's great. That's
on TV right now. So, every time she's on, she drops what she's doing, she watches. So nice. I take that as kind of like a benchmark, and to see what people are liking, what they're not liking. And the Alexa Bliss character is very, very good. She's great at acting it out. So good.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, if I don't know what the end goal with this is, but I don't know what storyline they're going with eventually, because it looks like they're broken apart now.
Yeah, I'm with you. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, phenomenal. Another 5-star match. That was just unbelievable. I loved every single second about that one.
And they wrestled only like 10 minutes. And then, for people that don't know, and a lot of people probably don't know, that listen to this since it's a racing podcast. These are two guys that, grew up wrestling. They've known each other for 20 years. They've wrestled each other hundreds of times, literally on the independent circuit.
Yep.
And then they get to WrestleMania and wrestle for 8-9 minutes. It's probably the easiest thing they've ever done together.
With their biggest payoff.
Yeah, exactly. So, yes, another classic match. And even, the stuff with Logan Paul afterwards, I think that was which Paul it was.
Yeah,
Logan.
I think so. Yep.
Not that really matters, but he played into it too, and Kevin Owens gave him a nice Stone Cold star.
Absolutely, yes. Let's move to the championship match, because then I want to bring up a couple other points outside of, or what might lead from WrestleMania. Roman Reigns, Edge, Daniel Bryan. The longest match of both nights, 21-ish minutes there. Solid match. I really didn't think Edge was going to win. I think it was great.
I did.
Oh, did you really?
He was my pick, yeah.
The only reason why I say I didn't think so was just because I think he's good for some one-off spots and stuff like that. But I think to carry, I don't know, his body is there to hold. I guess hey, they could have given it to him and he could have dropped it at the next pay-per-view and not had to do a whole lot of ring work for that. Or maybe this was just a test. Maybe he just wanted to see, can my body withstand a match, and let's go from there. Maybe he gets a rematch. But I love the fact that it's a controversial finish on this one to just add to the Roman Reigns heat. We look at how long the fans and the WWE universe wanted to boo this guy, and No, babyface. No, he will be a babyface. And now finally, you know, we've got the embracement of the brass to let him be the heel. So to double pin, and I don't know if you saw on Twitter, but the ref had made a comment and said something about, it's to interpretation and the match is final. And then I'm drawing a blank on his name, whoever this new interim GM
Adam Pearce.
Yes, Adam Pearce. See me on Friday when you get into the Thunderdome. Like, I love that build, that they're just really going to do something with this. And it just, like I said, it just adds to the heel momentum that I love.
Well, in the controversial part is that Roman, first off, Edge Concerto, which is his signature move from, 15 years ago.
Yes.
Daniel Bryan's selling it so well. Like, it looks like he's, like spazzing out almost.
Yes.
And then you got, Roman Reigns, who then Concertoed Edge and pulled Edge over Daniel Bryan and covered them both, all four shoulders around the mat between Bryan and Edge.
Yep.
But essentially Edge was the one pinning Bryan.
Yes.
So that's the controversy. But that aside, like, the lasting image of Roman Reigns, and I was so curious going into this how the fans were going to react to him, because for people that don't know, usually what happens is if you're a babyface or a good guy, in layman's terms, you're going to get booed, especially if you're shoved down our throats, like you just mentioned Roman Reigns was for years.
Yep.
But then when you turn heel, bad guy in quotes, they're going to love you. And so I was happy to see that Roman still got booed.
Yes.
Because this character is awesome.
Yes.
It's the best thing I would say on TV. Let alone wrestling.
It is solid. I mean, and anything Paul Heyman touches turns to gold. So
absolutely,
so you add that into there, that is must see TV. That is without a shadow of a doubt, for sure.
But the match in general was very good, and the lasting image of Roman Reigns holding the championship up. I mean, that's an iconic image. I think it'll turn out to be an iconic image.
Absolutely. I'm with you there. All right. We can end the WrestleMania chat with this. I want to talk real quick about Charlotte's new look. When she came out Monday night, looked damn good, if I may say so myself. And coming out, kind of trying to, looks like, she didn't come out in the robe, kind of trying to drop the Ric Flair tie and trying to reinvent from a heel perspective, which I absolutely love. And all it's doing is just making me crave Becky Lynch coming back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, she too, being Charlotte, is such a good heel. So much better as a heel than a face.
Yeah.
But also, like Big Show, so many heel and face turns.
Yes.
But with that said, I truly think the other night, Monday night, like, she was the bright spot of Raw. Raw was terrible.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Yep.
But her promo, I think, was probably the best of her career.
Yes.
I really do.
Oh, she delivered. Yeah.
I feel like you got the true, how she truly feels.
Yes.
And so, yeah, in terms of Becky Lynch, I mean, I think a lot of people were disappointed because she kind of hyped a return at WrestleMania or teased it.
Yeah. And
it didn't happen. So I think she comes back, sooner or later. Let's not forget she's only 4 months postpartum right now.
Right. Yep.
So I would say probably SummerSlam she comes back.
I'll be good with that. All right, man. Let's. We've gone a little long here. We got just a couple follower interactions, questions. Let's get to those, and we can close this thing out.
Let's do it.
Matt at Camper News Net. Do you think we're going to start seeing drivers who have already won start to win again? And how many different drivers do you think we'll see this season?
Yes, absolutely. I think we will, because, you still look at some of the drivers that haven't won at the couple of, I'm assuming this question's about, and you got Denny Hamlin, who 7 top 5s in 8 races.
Right.
He's done everything but win.
Yes. Chase Elliott, same thing.
Yeah. Chase is going to win. Harvick's going to win. Keselowski's going to win. There's 11. I would think probably Bowman's going to win. There's a few others that could win. So I bet you're looking at, then you also got like Coda, Talladega, which could provide a new winner.
Yep.
Daytona, the regular season finale. I was there last year, and the intensity in that race was all-time high. Because if you win, you're in.
Yep.
I think we see 14 regular season winners.
That's a solid number.
Yeah, it'll be the most I think we've had under this format.
Yeah. I was thinking somewhere between 11 and 13.
Usually,
it's at some point like that parity line kind of just once it's there, then it's a quick drop right after that. So it's
Kyle Busch. I forgot to name him. Should get a win.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So then you're at 13. And then like I said, you got Talladega, which anything can happen. Daytona.
Yep.
And then we got all these new tracks this year. I think 14 is a good number, but yes, I do think we're going to start seeing drivers start winning multiple races, frequently.
Absolutely. Jared at JTM0086, talk about sponsorship for small teams in Cup, Xfinity, Trucks, ARCA. For me, I think when you look at what sponsored, I would just reference and go back to what Marcus did in the Truck Series a couple weeks ago in throwing a wrap on all these trucks and tying your finish to how much you're going to get. I think the going rate was $15,000. $15,000 helps these guys tremendously when we're talking, underfunded teams and in these lower series. That just goes so much. Like if BJ could get a guaranteed $15,000 a week from somebody, I'm sure he'd be ecstatic.
Absolutely. And you see what Marcus is doing not only for trucks now, but it looks like it's look at Trackhouse. Camping World sponsored the 99, I think 3 or 4 times this year.
Yeah.
And he had a couple of good tweets this afternoon as we record this about, why he sponsors it. The Josh Berry deal, because it looked like after Josh Berry's win on Sunday that there was going to be a deal between potentially Camping World and Junior Motorsports to sponsor the 8. It comes out on Wednesday that Tire Pros is actually going to step up 2 more races and sponsor Berry. So, but yeah, Lemonis has done a great job this year. But in terms of sponsorship in general, like there's a lot of unsponsored cars or trucks right now, and that doesn't always look good. And of course, financially, it's not good for the teams, right? Because then it's like if you ever see a Johnny Davis car that's red. And a lot of times they are. Yep. That means he's spending his own money usually. Yep. So, I mean,
and you look at what was it, Moffitt a couple years back. I don't know if it was with Hattori or with GMS, but I mean, we're talking about a former Truck Series champion. Running.
It was with Hattori.
It was with Hattori.
It was the year he won the championship.
Yeah, and he's going on like a 4 or 5, season win total, racing for the championship, and in the playoffs was running unsponsored. Like, anything. Helps. Now, is the Lap Traffic podcast going to be able to call up, some team that doesn't have a sponsorship and be like, hey, I'll give you guys $250 to throw my logo on the quarter panel? They're going to laugh at me, Yeah. There's still like a minimum threshold that these guys have to abide by just to keep things whole throughout the sport. But
at the same time, it's got to make sense for the sponsor. And And right now, we just talked about this like 20, 30 minutes ago. It's so hard to sell sponsorship right now. I've had so many drivers and team owners tell me, especially from the lower funded teams, underfunded teams, how difficult it is because they can't guarantee that they're going to allow those sponsors or the VIPs inside the racetrack.
Right. That's a big selling point. Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely, because they want to be close to the action. They want to make a weekend out of it, and they want to get their employees to the track.
Absolutely.
So, I think, like we said, baby steps, but I think it's not going to start getting easier because it's very hard to sell sponsorship,
right? Especially
right now in 2021. But I think we'll, hopefully it kind of levels out.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. We got 2 more here. Ryan at Ryan Voles 4. All-Star race at Texas. What will it look like? What tracks would you like to see get an All-Star race? Should it rotate, etc.?
Absolutely should rotate. I want to get your take on this too, but I think it should absolutely rotate. As far as Texas, I understand why it's at Texas this year, because it's going to be hard to get out of the SMI. Like I don't ever see it going out of the SMI, family, per se. Which obviously they had it at Charlotte for years, almost 30 years. They had it at Bristol last year, also an SMI track, and then this year at Texas. Unfortunately, the racing at Texas the last few years since they kind of reconfigured it hasn't been the best.
Yeah.
So as far as what it'll look like, I can't say it's going to look very good.
No.
But Eddie Gossage is a guy who I think could put a lot on the line as a track promoter, and hopefully it'll lead to better racing at the track.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. For me, and I've been vocal about this on the show, and I don't know if you and I have talked about this. I'm not a big fan of all-star anything. I don't care if it's NASCAR, baseball, football, basketball. For me, I would rather see skills comp than the all-star race, just because I get it. We're running around to win a bunch of money. Like, it's an all-star race every week. You know, we're just going to set these crazy ass parameters to hopefully get a 20-car field. Like, I would much rather see something unique. And the thing I understand is you're not going to draw 15,000 people for a skills comp. I understand that. So that would have to be done at a same event weekend or back-to-back weekends, kind of like we have done at Charlotte in the past before the 600. I'm all about the rotation. I loved when we tried the Roval as the all-star race. I at least that was different because it was something we hadn't done. Just I want something different to give me a reason to watch an all-star anything.
I get that point too, but I will say, out of all sports, NASCAR has the best all-star event.
Sure.
Because you look at the Pro Bowl and the NFL, and it's a freaking joke.
It's a joke.
The NBA all-star game is even probably worse.
330 over in the NBA all-star
game. Baseball. So baseball was good when it determined, what league won, and they get home field advantage in the World Series. I like that.
Yep.
But they've done away with that. So as far as all-star races or all-star games, I should say, I do think NASCAR is the best one.
Yeah.
Because there is still something on the line.
Sure.
Now, I said earlier I like it rotating, but I also don't mind it being solely at Charlotte. And I know, that might make some people cringe. But in a way, it gets the families of all the people that work on the teams that don't get to go to many races to a race.
Yep.
And, I like that aspect of it. So I could see it rotating, but I also could see it, I'd be in favor of it staying in Charlotte too. It doesn't really matter to me. Texas, though, I don't know. Look, old Texas was so good.
Right, yeah.
So good. And this, I will say, last July's race in Texas was pretty good with Austin Dillon winning.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because we saw a surprise winner. Because he, too, when he got out front and Tyler Reddick in second, you couldn't pass. So it's going to be a track that's all about clean air, and that's what we'll see the All-Star race this year.
I'm with you. All right, man. Let's call it a wrap. Lap Traffic Nation, that is going to do it for episode 235 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. Go get over to jski.com, nascar.com. Make sure you follow on Twitter at LapTrafficPC. Make sure you follow Dustin at Dustin Albino. Go check out all the stuff at jski.com, nascar.com. Huge thanks, Dustin, man. This was so much fun. Enjoyed the WrestleMania talk. Can't wait to do this again in a couple weeks, sir. And don't forget, Tuesday, the Bagman from MRN will be on. Don't get caught chasing a lucky dog. Make sure you tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya.